Psychology. Textbook for Class 11. Forward. The National Curriculum Framework, NCF, 2005, recommends that children's life at school must be linked to their life outside the school. This principle marks a departure from the legacy of bookish learning which continues to shape our system and causes a gap between the school, home and community. The syllabi and textbooks developed on the basis of NCF signify an attempt to implement this basic idea. They also attempt to discourage rote learning and the maintenance of sharp boundaries between different subject areas. We hope these measures will take us significantly further in the direction of a child-centered system of education outlined in the National Policy on Education, 1986. The success of this effort depends on the steps that school principals and teachers will take to encourage children to reflect on their own learning and to pursue imaginative activities and questions. We must recognize that given space, time and freedom, children generate new knowledge by engaging with the information passed on to them by adults. Treating the prescribed textbook as the sole basis of examination is one of the key reasons why other resources and sites of learning are ignored. Inculcating creativity and initiative is possible if we perceive and treat children as participants in learning, not as receivers of a fixed body of knowledge. These aims imply considerable change in school routines and mode of functioning. Flexibility in the daily timetable is as necessary as rigor in implementing the annual calendar so that the required number of teaching days are actually devoted to teaching. The methods used for teaching and evaluation will also determine how effective this textbook proves for making children's life at school a happy experience, rather than a source of stress or boredom. Syllabus designers have tried to address the problem of curricular burden by restructuring and reorienting knowledge at different stages with greater consideration for child psychology and the time available for teaching. The textbook attempts to enhance this endeavor by giving higher priority and space to opportunities for contemplation and wondering, discussion in small groups, and activities requiring hands-on experience. The National Council of Educational Research and Training, NCERT, appreciates the hard work done by the Textbook Development Committee responsible for this textbook. We wish to thank the chairperson of the Advisory Group of Social Sciences, Professor Hari Vasudevan, Department of History, Calcutta University, Kolkata, and the chief advisor for this textbook, Professor R.C. Tripathi, Director, G.B. Pant Social Science Institute, Allahabad, for guiding the work of this committee. Several teachers contributed to the development of this textbook. We are grateful to their principals for making this possible. We are indebted to the institutions and organizations which have generously permitted us to draw upon their resources, material and personnel. We are especially grateful to the members of the National Monitoring Committee, appointed by the Department of Secondary and Higher Education, Ministry of Human Resource Development, under the chairpersonship of Professor Mrinal Miri and Professor G.P. Deshpande, for their valuable time and contribution. As an organization committed to the systemic reform and continuous improvement in the quality of its products, NCERT welcomes comments and suggestions which will enable us to undertake further revision and refinement. Director, National Council of Educational Research and Training, New Delhi, 20th December 2005. Preface. Psychology is one of the youngest sciences, but one of the fastest growing. There are many who believe that the 21st century is going to be the century of biological sciences along with psychological sciences. Development in the fields of neurosciences, as well as physical sciences, have opened new doors to solve the mysteries of mind and human behavior. There is no human endeavor which is going to remain unaffected by this new knowledge which is getting created. One only hopes that it will enable people to live their lives more meaningfully and to organize human systems better. In fact, as a consequence, a large number of new job opportunities have surfaced. Psychology already has made inroads into many new domains. The writing of this textbook has been truly a collective effort. It has benefited from the inputs received from various subject experts in various forms, from college and school teachers, and also students. In writing this textbook, we have tried to address some of the concerns raised by the evaluators of the previous edition of this textbook, while also making use of some portions of it. The textbook follows the National Curriculum Framework, NCF, 2005. In keeping with the general guidelines, we have tried to reduce the load and attempted to make it more comprehensible for the students. In doing so, we have tried to relate psychological concepts with everyday human behavior and also with various life experiences. How far one has succeeded in this is left for the teachers and students to judge. One major challenge which teachers of psychology face is to make their students analyze human behavior in a scientific manner and to use explanations which are not commonsensical. More than any other scientific discipline, psychology runs the risk of trivialization. It is our hope that students who go through this course will develop a proper scientific attitude for analyzing others and their own behavior and use it for personal growth. We take great pleasure in placing this textbook in the hands of students and teachers and also express our gratitude to all who have provided their unstinted support in its writing and production. Note for the teachers. As a teacher, one is always concerned about students learning and enhancing their understanding over and above what is in the textbook. The existing classroom practices largely focus on imparting knowledge and information. It is, however, important for us to reflect on what it means to teach, how we teach, and the carry-over value of our teaching. Research shows that pedagogical practices are influenced by the nature and contents of the subject or discipline. The subject of psychology, which deals with human mind, behavior, and human relationship, can most appropriately lend itself to teaching with humanistic perspective. Such a perspective aims at enriching students' knowledge as well as inspiring and awakening their curiosity, positive feelings, desire to learn, openness, exploration of self and others, etc. Such an approach is also conducive to their personal development and inculcation of positive attitude and love for the subject. This textbook has been so designed as to provide ample scope to build on the previous knowledge and experiences of the students. Meaningful contexts have been provided to relate the subject matter with day-to-day life. We suggest you use interactive approach to engage the students and to sustain their interest and enthusiasm in order to make the teaching learning process joyful. Strategies like stories, discussions, examples, questioning, analogies, problem-solving situations, role play, etc. are inbuilt part of the text. It will be good if students bring in their own stories and examples. Special effort has been made to reduce the density of information to provide time and space to help students to relate knowledge gained in the classroom to their individual experiences as well as to their physical, social, political, and economic environments. The transaction of the subject matter, therefore, should facilitate reflection among students to explore the applicability of knowledge to their own contexts. We suggest that you may encourage your students to maintain a record of interesting events episodes in which they may have been involved personally or which they may have observed. They may try to make sense of these episodes using their learning from this book. This may be called a learning diary. As for class 11 students, psychology will be a new subject. It would be important to dwell on the potential of the subject, its value in daily life, and various career possibilities. Students, it is expected, will be made aware of the empirical nature of the discipline and the importance of adopting scientific approach in studying human behavior. This textbook consists of 9 chapters on topics considered essential for an introductory course in psychology. Each chapter begins with learning objectives. An outline of the major contents to be covered give an overall view of the chapter. The introduction at the beginning of each chapter provides an informative and challenging start to build on the student's previous knowledge. The main content in each chapter is interspersed with examples, illustrations, tables, activities, and boxes to facilitate better understanding of the concepts. These are integral part of the book and should be used. The summary at the end of each chapter helps to reinforce and consolidate what has been read or taught. Before you begin a particular chapter, you should encourage the students to read the summary of the chapter. The chapter and review questions cater to the areas of understanding, application, and skill intended to promote higher order thinking. The project ideas given at the end of each chapter are aimed at engaging students in fieldwork and gaining hands-on experience. This also brings them to understand abstract concepts more meaningfully by relating these to their everyday life happenings. We hope that these will be appropriately used by you to create new learning opportunities. Although the contents of the textbook have been organized under different headings, like learning, thinking, memory, motivation and emotion, etc., efforts have been made to provide linkages across and within the chapters to maintain continuity and holistic perspective. The activities given in the textbook have been carefully chosen to maximize students' participation in the class. Most activities suggested are easy to carry out and require no special material. These can be conducted in the classroom situation or given as part of home assignments. While some of the activities are group-oriented, some of these are individual in nature. Group activities are important for team building, to experience the joy of sharing, and to develop respect for each other's viewpoint. While conducting activity sessions, particular care should be taken in building a classroom climate that is conducive to mutual respect, confidence, and cooperation. Since every class is different and every teacher is different, these activities can be adapted according to the varied requirements and the contexts. It is critical that in teaching this course, we must strive to maintain balance between scientific and experiential approaches. Note for the students. This textbook has been prepared to introduce you to the fundamentals of psychology. Besides providing basic disciplinary knowledge, it focuses on enhancing your curiosity and understanding of people's behavior and that of your own. The interactive nature of the textbook will help you understand psychology as a discipline as well as the practical applications of psychology in day-to-day life. For this, it is required that you participate in the classroom activities fully and also reflect on them. To begin with, you must get familiar with the subject contents, which will give you an idea of the topics to be covered and the sequence of chapters. Each chapter has objectives and the content outline. The objectives inform you what all you should be able to know after you have gone through the chapter. The chapters begin with an introduction, which will give you a brief overview of what lies ahead. The contents also include boxes and activities. These boxes contain information relating to the latest theories and experiments that have been conducted and its applications to everyday situations. They are integral to the book, and you are required to read them to widen your horizon and to develop a quest for knowledge. Examples given in the textbook relate to real-life events and experiences. To consolidate all that has been taught and understood, you will find a summary after each chapter. This is then followed by review questions. These questions are likely to generate critical thinking and develop in you the power to question and reason. We encourage you to attempt these questions. Your responses to these questions will indicate both the degree of your mastery of the concepts taught and the depth of your knowledge. It is important that you learn the key terms given at the end of each chapter and their definitions. The glossary at the end of the textbook will prove to be an excellent aid to clarify and brush up the fundamentals of the subject. Now let us focus on the activities and project ideas mentioned in each chapter. These are intended to promote experiential learning. Your experience while taking up these activities will help you to know more about yourself and others. These will also help you to relate taught concepts in the class to real-life situations. Try to involve in as many activities as you can, as this will facilitate your understanding of psychological concepts better. The project ideas also emphasize learning by doing. You may have to move out of your classroom to interview people or to gather information. It may not be possible for you to carry out all the projects, but choose the ones you find interesting. You are going to embark on a journey towards exploring different realms of the subject. As you go along, you will find some sites in the text which will help you to explore yourself and the world of which you are a part. The doorway to psychology is open. Make the best of it. If you are an internet user, try to explore the sites with the help of your teacher, which provide information on the topics covered in this textbook. Contents. Note for the teachers. Note for the students. Chapter 1. What is psychology? Chapter 2. Methods of inquiry in psychology. Chapter 3. The basis of human behavior. Chapter 4. Human development. Chapter 5. Sensory, attentional and perceptual processes. Chapter 6. Learning. Chapter 7. Human memory. Chapter 8. Thinking. Chapter 9. Motivation and emotion. Glossary. Chapter 1. What is psychology? After reading this chapter, you would be able to 1. Understand the nature and role of psychology in understanding mind and behavior. 2. State the growth of the discipline. 3. Know the different fields of psychology, its relationship with other disciplines and professions, and 4. Appreciate the value of psychology in daily life to help you understand yourself and others better. Contents. Introduction. What is psychology? Psychology as a discipline, psychology as a natural science, psychology as a social science. Understanding mind and behavior. Popular notions about the discipline of psychology, evolution of psychology. Some interesting landmarks in the evolution of modern psychology, Box 1.1. Development of psychology in India. Branches of psychology. Themes of research and applications. Psychology and other disciplines. Psychologists at work. Psychology in everyday life. Key terms. Summary. Review questions. Project ideas. The growth of the human mind is still high adventure, in many ways the highest adventure on earth. Norman Cousins. Introduction. You were, perhaps, asked by your teacher in the first class why you opted for psychology over other subjects. What do you hope to learn? If you were asked this question, what was your response? Generally, the range of responses which surface in class to this question are truly bewildering. Most students give inane responses, like they want to know what others are thinking. But then one also comes across such responses as knowing oneself, knowing others, or more specific responses like knowing why people dream, why people go out of their way to help others or beat each other up. All ancient traditions have engaged themselves with questions about human nature. The Indian philosophical traditions, in particular, deal with questions relating to why people behave in the manner in which they do. Why are people generally unhappy? What changes should they bring about in themselves if they desire happiness in their lives? Like all knowledge, psychological knowledge too is intended to contribute to human well-being. If the world is full of misery, it is largely due to humans themselves. Perhaps, you have asked why a 9th November or war in Iraq happened. Why innocent people in Delhi, Mumbai, Srinagar or in the northeast have to face bombs and bullets? Psychologists ask what is in the experiences of young men which turn them into terrorists seeking revenge. But there is another side to human nature. You may have heard the name of Major H.P.S. Ahluwalia, paralyzed waist down because of an injury he suffered in a war with Pakistan, who climbed the Metricton Everest. What moved him to climb such heights? These are not only questions about human nature, which psychology addresses as a human science. You will be surprised to learn that modern psychology also deals with somewhat nebulous micro-level phenomenon like consciousness, focusing attention in the face of noise, or supporters trying to burn down a shopping complex after their team had scored victory in a football game over its traditional rival. Psychology cannot claim that answers have been found to these complex questions. But it surely has improved upon our understanding and how we make sense of these phenomena. The most striking aspect of the discipline, unlike other sciences, lies in the study of psychological processes which are largely internal and available to humans for observation within themselves. What is psychology? Any knowledge discipline is hard to define. Firstly, because it evolves continuously. Secondly, because the range of phenomena it studies cannot be captured by any one definition. This is even more true of psychology. Long time back, students like yourself were told that the term psychology is derived from two Greek words, psyche meaning soul and logos meaning science or study of a subject. Thus, psychology was a study of the soul or mind. But since then it has moved away considerably from this focus and established itself as a scientific discipline which deals with processes underlying human experience and behavior. The range of phenomena it studies, some of which we mentioned above, are spread over several levels, with individual, dyadic, two-person, group, and organizational. They also have biological, as well as social bases. Naturally, therefore, the methods required to study them also vary greatly depending on the phenomenon one wants to study. A discipline is defined both in terms of what it studies and how it studies. In fact, more in terms of how or method as it uses. Keeping this in view, psychology is defined formally as a science which studies mental processes, experiences, and behavior in different contexts. In doing so, it uses methods of biological and social sciences to obtain data systematically. It makes sense of these data so that they can be organized as knowledge. Let us try to understand the three terms used in the definition, namely, mental processes, experience, and behavior. When we say experiences are internal to the experiencing person, then we refer to states of consciousness or awareness or mental processes. We use our mental processes when we think or try to solve a problem, to know or remember something. One level at which these mental processes are reflected is the brain activity. As we think or solve a mathematical problem, our brain activities can be observed using different techniques of brain imaging. However, we cannot say that brain activities and mental processes are the same, although they are interdependent. Mental activities and neural activities are mutually overlapping processes, but they are not identical. Unlike the brain, the mind does not have a physical structure or has a location. Mind emerges and evolves as our interactions and experiences in this world get dynamically organized in the form of a system, which is responsible for the occurrence of various mental processes. Brain activities provide important clues as to how our mind functions. But the consciousness of our own experiences and mental processes are much more than the neural or brain activities. Even when we are asleep, some mental activities go on. We dream and receive some information such as a knock on the door while we are asleep. Some psychologists have shown that we also learn and remember in our sleep. Mental processes, such as remembering, learning, knowing, perceiving, feeling are of interest to psychologists. They study these processes to try to understand how the mind works and to help us improve the uses and applications of these mental capacities. Psychologists also study experiences of people. Experiences are subjective in nature. We cannot directly observe or know someone else's experience. Only the experiencing person can be aware or be conscious of her or his experiences. Thus, experiences are embedded in our awareness or consciousness. Psychologists have focused on experiences of pain being experienced by terminally ill patients or of psychological pain felt in bereavement, besides experiences which lead to positive feelings, such as in romantic encounters. There are some esoteric experiences also which attract the attention of psychologists, such as when a yogi meditates to enter a different level of consciousness and creates a new kind of experience, or when a drug addict takes a particular kind of drug to get a high, even though such drugs are extremely harmful. Experiences are influenced by internal and the external conditions of the experiencer. If you are traveling in a crowded bus during a hot summer day, you may not experience the usual discomfort if you are going for a picnic with some close friends. Thus, the nature of experience can only be understood by analyzing a complex set of internal and external conditions. Behaviors are responses or reactions we make or activities we engage in. When something is hurled at you, your eyes blinked in a simple reflex action. You are taking an examination and can feel your heart pounding. You decide to go for a particular movie with a friend. Behaviors may be simple or complex, short or enduring. Some behaviors are overt. They can be outwardly seen or sensed by an observer. Some are internal or covert. When you are in a difficult situation, while playing a game of chess, you almost feel your hand muscles twitching, trying to experiment with a move. All behaviors, covert or overt, are associated with or triggered by some stimulus in the environment or changes that happen internally. You may see a tiger and run, or think that there is a tiger and decide to flee. Some psychologists study behavior as an association between stimulus, S, and response. Both stimulus and response can be internal or external. Psychology as a discipline. As we have discussed above, psychology studies behavior, experience, and mental processes. It seeks to understand and explain how the mind works and how different mental processes result in different behaviors. When we observe others as lay or common persons, our own points of view or our ways of understanding the world influence our interpretations of their behaviors and experiences. Psychologists try to minimize such biases in their explanations of behavior and experience in various ways. Some do so by seeking to make their analysis scientific and objective. Others seek to explain behavior from the point of view of the experiencing persons because they think that subjectivity is a necessary aspect of human experience. In the Indian tradition, self-reflection and analysis of our conscious experiences is held to be a major source of psychological understanding. Many Western psychologists have also begun to emphasize the role of self-reflection and self-knowledge in understanding human behavior and experience. Regardless of the differences in the way psychologists go about the study of behavior, mental processes, and experiences, they seek to understand and explain them in a systematic and verifiable manner. Psychology, though it is a very old knowledge discipline, is a young science. If one were to take the year of the founding of the first laboratory of psychology in 1879 in Leipzig. However, what kind of science is psychology still remains a matter of debate, particularly because of the new interfaces of it that have emerged in recent times. Psychology is generally categorized as a social science. But it should not come to you as a surprise that, not only in other countries, but in India also, it is also a subject of study offered in the Faculty of Science, both at the undergraduate and postgraduate levels. Many students go on to earn a B.Sc. or M.Sc. degree in universities. In fact, two of the most sought-after emerging disciplines, which continuously borrow from psychology, are neuroscience and computer science. Some of us would be aware of the fast-developing brain imaging techniques like fMRI, EEG, etc., which make it possible to study brain processes in real time, i.e. when they are actually taking place. Similarly, in IT areas, both human-computer interaction and artificial intelligence cannot possibly grow without psychological knowledge in cognitive processes. Thus, psychology as a discipline today has two parallel streams. One which makes use of the method in physical and biological sciences, and the other which makes use of the method of social and cultural sciences in studying various psychological and social phenomena. These streams sometimes converge only to drift apart and go their separate ways. In the first case, psychology considers itself as a discipline which focuses largely on biological principles to explain human behavior. It assumes that all behavioral phenomena have causes, which can be discovered if we can collect data systematically under controlled conditions. Here the aim of the researcher is to know the cause and effect relationship so that a prediction of the behavioral phenomenon can be made and behavior can be controlled if need be. On the other hand, psychology as a social science focuses on how behavioral phenomena can be explained in terms of the interaction that takes place between the person and the sociocultural context of which she or he is a part. Each behavioral phenomenon is assumed to have multiple causes. Let us now discuss these two streams separately. Psychology as a natural science. It has been mentioned earlier that psychology has its roots in philosophy. However, modern psychology has developed because of the application of the scientific method to study psychological phenomenon. Science places a great deal of emphasis on objectivity, which can be obtained if there is consensus on the definition of a concept and how it can be measured. Psychology was influenced by Descartes, and later on by the developments in physics has grown by following what is called Hypothetico-deductive model. The model suggests that scientific advancement can take place if you have a theory to explain a phenomenon. For example, physicists have what is called a Big Bang theory to explain how the universe came to be formed. Theory is nothing else but a set of statements about how a certain complex phenomenon can be explained with the help of propositions, which are interrelated. Based on a theory, scientists deduce or propose a hypothesis that offers a tentative explanation of how a certain phenomenon takes place. The hypothesis then is tested and proved true or false based on empirical data that one has gathered. The theory is revised if data gathered point in a different direction than the one suggested by the hypothesis. Using the above approach, psychologists have developed theories of learning, memory, attention, perception, motivation and emotion, etc., and have made significant progress. Till date, most of the research in psychology follows this approach. Apart from this, psychologists have also been considerably influenced by the evolutionary approach which is dominant in biological sciences. This approach has also been used to explain diverse kinds of psychological phenomena such as attachment and aggression, to mention just a few. Psychology as a social science. We mentioned above that psychology is recognized more as a social science because it studies the behavior of human beings in their socio-cultural contexts. Humans are not only influenced by their socio-cultural contexts, they also create them. Psychology as a social science discipline focuses on humans as social beings. Consider the following story of Ranjitha and Shabnam. Ranjitha and Shabnam were in the same class. Although they were in the same class, they were just acquainted with each other, and their lives were quite different. Ranjitha came from a farmer's family. Her grandparents, parents and elder brother worked on their farm. They lived together in their house in the village. Ranjitha was a good athlete and was the best long-distance runner in the school. She loved meeting people and making friends. Unlike her, Shabnam lived with her mother in the same village. Her father worked in an office in a town nearby and came home during holidays. Shabnam was a good artist and loved staying home and taking care of her younger brother. She was shy and avoided meeting people. Last year there was very heavy rain and the river nearby overflowed into the village. Many houses in the low-lying areas were flooded. The villagers got together and organized help and gave shelter to people in distress. Shabnam's house was also flooded and she came to live in Ranjitha's house with her mother and brother. Ranjitha was happy helping the family and making them feel comfortable in her house. When the flood water receded, Ranjitha's mother and grandmother helped Shabnam's mother to set up their house. The two families became very close. Ranjitha and Shabnam also became very good friends. In this case of Ranjitha and Shabnam, both are very different persons. They grew up in different families under complex social and cultural conditions. You can see some regularity in the relationship of their nature, experience, and mental processes with their social and physical environment. But at the same time, there are variations in their behaviors and experiences which would be difficult to predict using the known psychological principles. One can understand why and how individuals and communities become quite helpful and self-sacrificing in crisis, as was the case with the people in the village of Ranjitha and Shabnam. But, even in that case, not every villager was equally helpful, and also under similar circumstances not every community is so forthcoming. In fact, sometimes, the opposite is true. People become antisocial under similar circumstances, indulging in looting and exploitation when some crisis occurs. This shows that psychology deals with human behavior and experience in the context of their society and culture. Thus, psychology is a social science with focus on the individuals and communities in relation to their socio-cultural and physical environment. Understanding mind and behavior. You will recall that psychology was once defined as a science of the mind. For many decades, the mind remained a taboo in psychology because it could not be defined in concrete behavioral terms or its location could not be indicated. If the term mind has returned to psychology, we should thank neuroscientists like Sperry and physicists like Penrose, who have given it the respect which it deserved and now has. There are scientists in various disciplines including psychology, who think that a unified theory of the mind is a possibility, although it still is far away. What is mind? Is it the same as brain? It is true that mind cannot exist without brain, but mind is a separate entity. This can be appreciated on account of several interesting cases that have been documented. Some patients whose occipital lobes, which are responsible for vision, were surgically removed have been found to be responding correctly to location and configuration of visual cues. Similarly, an amateur athlete lost his arm in a motorcycle accident but continued to feel an arm and also continued to feel its movements. When offered a fee, his phantom arm reached out to the coffee cup, and when someone pulled it away, he protested. There are other similar cases documented by neuroscientists. A young man who suffered brain injury in an accident, after he returned home from the hospital, claimed that his parents had been replaced by their duplicates. They were imposters. In each of these cases, the person had suffered from damage of some part of the brain, but his mind had remained intact. It was earlier believed by scientists that there is no relationship between the mind and the body, and that they were parallel to each other. Recent studies in effective neuroscience have clearly shown that there is a relationship between mind and behavior. It has been shown that using positive visualization techniques and feeling positive emotions, one can bring about significant changes in bodily processes. Ornish has shown this in a number of studies with his patients. In these studies, a person with blocked arteries was made to visualize that blood was flowing through his blocked arteries. After practicing this over a period of time, significant relief was obtained by these patients as the degree of blockage became significantly less. Use of mental imagery, eye images generated by a person in his mind, have been used to cure various kinds of phobias, irrational fears of objects and situations. A new discipline called psychoneuroimmunology has emerged which emphasizes the role played by the mind in strengthening the immune system. Activity 1.1. Imagine and visualize yourself in the following situations. Mention 3 psychological processes involved in each situation. You are writing an essay for a competition. You are chatting with a friend on an interesting topic. You are playing football. You are watching a soap opera on TV. Your best friend has hurt you. You are appearing in an examination. You are expecting an important visitor. You are preparing a speech to deliver in your school. You are playing chess. You are trying to figure out the answer of a difficult mathematics problem. Discuss your answers with the teacher and classmates. Popular notions about the discipline of psychology. We mentioned above that every day, almost every one of us acts like a psychologist. We try to understand why someone behaved in the manner in which she or he did and come up with ready explanations. Not only this, most of us have developed our own theory of human behavior. If we want some worker to perform better than she or he has in the past, we know that we will need to push him. Maybe even use a stick, because people are basically lazy. Such popular theories of human behavior based on common sense may or may not be true if investigated scientifically. In fact, you will find that commonsensical explanations of human behavior are based on hindsight and explain very little. For example, if a friend you love goes away to a distant place, what will happen to your attraction for him? There are two sayings which you may recall to answer this question. One of them is out of sight, out of mind. The second one is distance makes the heart grow fonder. Both of them make opposite statements, so which one is true? The explanation you choose will depend on what happens in your life after your friend leaves. Suppose you are able to find a new friend, the saying out of sight, out of mind will be used by you or others to explain your behavior. If you are unable to find a new friend, you will keep remembering your friend fondly. In this case, the saying distance makes the heart grow fonder will explain your behavior. Notice that in both cases the explanation follows the occurrence of behavior. Common sense is based on hindsight. Psychology as a science looks for patterns of behavior, which can be predicted and not explained after the behavior occurs. Confidence. Dweck's study tested this. She took two groups of students who were trained for 25 days in solving math problems. The first group was given easy problems, which they were always able to solve. The second group had a mix of easy and difficult problems. Obviously, in case of difficult problems, they failed. Whenever this happened, Dweck told them that their failure was because they had not tried hard enough and persuaded them not to give up and keep trying. After the training period was over, a new set of math problems were given to the two groups. What Dweck found goes against common belief. Those who had always succeeded because they were given easy problems, gave up much faster when they faced failure than those who had experience of both success and failure and were taught to attribute failure to their lack of effort. There are many other common sense notions which you may not find to be true. Not too long ago, it was believed in some cultures that men are more intelligent than women or women cause more accidents than men. Empirical studies have shown that both of these are untrue. Common sense also tells us that one is not able to give one's best if you are asked to perform before a large audience. Psychological studies have shown that if you have practiced well, you may actually perform better because the presence of others helps your performance. It is hoped that as you go through this textbook, you will discover that many of your beliefs and understanding of human behavior will change. You will also gather that psychologists are different from astrologers, tantrics, and palm readers because they systematically examine propositions based on data to develop principles about human behavior and other psychological phenomena. Activity 1.2. Ask a cross-section of students about what they think psychology is. Draw a comparison between what they say and what the textbook tells you. What conclusion can you draw? Evolution of psychology. Psychology as a modern discipline, which is influenced to a large extent by Western developments, has a short history. It grew out of ancient philosophy concerned with questions of psychological significance. We mentioned earlier that the formal beginning of modern psychology is traced back to 1879 when the first experimental laboratory was established in Leipzig, Germany by Wilhelm Wundt. Wundt was interested in the study of conscious experience and wanted to analyze the constituents or the building blocks of the mind. Psychologists during Wundt's time analyzed the structure of the mind through introspection and therefore were called structuralists. Introspection was a procedure in which individuals or subjects in psychological experiments were asked to describe in detail their own mental processes or experiences. However, introspection as a method did not satisfy many other psychologists. It was considered less scientific because the introspective reports could not be verified by outside observers. This led to the development of new perspectives in psychology. An American psychologist, William James, who had set up a psychological laboratory in Cambridge, Massachusetts, soon after the setting up of the Leipzig laboratory, developed what was called a functionalist approach to the study of the human mind. William James believed that instead of focusing on the structure of the mind, psychology should instead study what the mind does and how behavior functions in making people deal with their environment. For example, functionalists focused on how behavior enabled people to satisfy their needs. According to William James, consciousness as an ongoing stream of mental process interacting with the environment formed the core of psychology. A very influential educational thinker of the time, John Dewey, used functionalism to argue that human beings seek to function effectively by adapting to their environment. In the early 20th century, a new perspective called Gestalt psychology emerged in Germany as a reaction to the structuralism of Wundt. It focused on the organization of perceptual experiences. Instead of looking at the components of the mind, the Gestalt psychologists argued that when we look at the world, our perceptual experience is more than the sum of the components of the perception. In other words, what we experience is more than the inputs received from our environment. When, for example, light from a series of flashing bulbs falls on our retina, we actually experience movement of light. When we see a movie, we actually have a series of rapidly moving images of still pictures falling on our retina. Thus, our perceptual experience is more than the elements. Experience is holistic. It is a gestalt. We will learn more about the Gestalt psychology when we discuss about the nature of perception in Chapter 5. Yet another reaction to structuralism came in the form of behaviorism. Around 1910, John Watson rejected the ideas of mind and consciousness as subject matters of psychology. He was greatly influenced by the work of physiologists like Ivan Pavlov on classical conditioning. For Watson, mind is not observable and introspection is subjective because it cannot be verified by another observer. According to him, scientific psychology must focus on what is observable and verifiable. He defined psychology as a study of behavior or responses to stimuli which can be measured and studied objectively. Behaviorism of Watson was further developed by many influential psychologists who are known as behaviorists. Most prominent among them was Skinner, who applied behaviorism to a wide range of situations and popularized the approach. We will discuss Skinner's work later in this textbook. Although behaviorists dominated the field of psychology for several decades after Watson, a number of other approaches and views about psychology and its subject matter were developing around the same time. One person who shook the world with his radical view of human nature was Sigmund Freud. Freud viewed human behavior as a dynamic manifestation of unconscious desires and conflicts. He founded psychoanalysis as a system to understand and cure psychological disorders. While Freudian psychoanalysis viewed human beings as motivated by unconscious desire for gratification of pleasure-seeking, and often, sexual, desires, the humanistic perspective in psychology took a more positive view of human nature. Humanists, such as Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow, emphasized the free will of human beings and their natural striving to grow and unfold their inner potential. They argued that behaviorism, with its emphasis on behavior as determined by environmental conditions, undermines human freedom and dignity and takes a mechanistic view of human nature. These different approaches filled the history of modern psychology and provided multiple perspectives to its development. Each of these perspectives has its own focus and draws our attention to the complexity of psychological processes. There are strengths as well as weaknesses in each approach. Some of these approaches have led to further developments in the discipline. Aspects of Gestalt approach and structuralism were combined and led to the development of the cognitive perspective, which focuses on how we know about the world. Cognition is the process of knowing. It involves thinking, understanding, perceiving, memorizing, problem-solving, and a host of other mental processes by which our knowledge of the world develops, making us able to deal with the environment in specific ways. Some cognitive psychologists view the human mind as an information processing system like the computer. Mind, according to this view, is like a computer, and it receives, processes, transforms, stores, and retrieves information. Modern cognitive psychology views human beings as actively constructing their minds through their exploration into the physical and the social world. This view is sometimes called constructivism. Piaget's view of child development, which will be discussed later, is considered a constructivist theory of development of the mind. Another Russian psychologist, Vygotsky, went even further to suggest that the human mind develops through social and cultural processes in which the mind is viewed as culturally constructed through joint interaction between adults and children. In other words, while for Piaget children actively construct their own minds, Vygotsky took a view that mind is a joint cultural construction and emerges as a result of interaction between children and adults. Development of psychology in India. The Indian philosophical tradition is rich in its focus on mental processes and reflections on human consciousness, self, mind-body relations, and a variety of mental functions such as cognition, perception, illusion, attention and reasoning, etc. Unfortunately, philosophical roots in the Indian tradition have not influenced the development of modern psychology in India. The development of the discipline in India continues to be dominated by Western psychology, although some attempts have been made to find points of departure both within the country and abroad. These attempts have tried to establish the truth value of various assertions in Indian philosophical traditions through scientific studies. The modern era of Indian psychology began in the Department of Philosophy at Calcutta University, where the first syllabus of experimental psychology was introduced and the first psychology laboratory was established in 1915. Calcutta University started the first department of psychology in the year 1916 and another department of applied psychology in 1938. The beginning of modern experimental psychology at Calcutta University was greatly influenced by the Indian psychologist Dr. N. N. Sengupta, who was trained in USA in the experimental tradition of Wundt. Professor G. Bose was trained in Freudian psychoanalysis, another area which influenced the early development of psychology in India. Professor Bose established Indian Psychoanalytical Association in 1922. Departments of psychology in the universities of Mysore and Patna were other early centers of teaching and research in psychology. From these modest beginnings, modern psychology has grown as a strong discipline in India, with a large number of centers of teaching, research, and applications. There are 2 centers of excellence in psychology supported by the UGC at Utkal University, Bhubaneswar, and at the University of Allahabad. About 70 universities offer courses in psychology. Durganand Sinha, in his book Psychology, in a third world country, the Indian experience. Published in 1986, traces the history of modern psychology as a social science in India in 4 phases. According to him, the first phase till independence was a phase with emphasis on experimental, psychoanalytic, and psychological testing research, which primarily reflected the development of the discipline in Western countries. The second phase till the 1960s was a phase of expansion of psychology in India into different branches of psychology. During this phase, Indian psychologists showed a desire to have an Indian identity by seeking to link Western psychology to the Indian context. They did this by using Western ideas to understand the Indian situation. However, psychology in India sought to become relevant for Indian society in the post-1960s phase of problem-oriented research. Psychologists became more focused on addressing the problems of the Indian society. Further, the limitations of excessive dependence on Western psychology for our social context were also realized. Leading psychologists emphasized the significance of research, which is of relevance to our situation. The search for a new identity of psychology in India led to the phase of indigenization, which started during the late 1970s. Besides rejecting the Western framework, Indian psychologists stressed the need for developing an understanding based on a framework which was culturally and socially relevant. This trend was also reflected in some attempts to develop psychological approaches based on traditional Indian psychology, which came from our ancient texts and scriptures. Thus, this phase is characterized by development in indigenous psychology, which originated from the Indian cultural context and was relevant for society, and Indian psychology based on the Indian traditional knowledge system. While these developments continue, psychology in India is making significant contributions to the field of psychology in the world. It has become more contextual, emphasizing the need for developing psychological principles, which are rooted in our own social and cultural context. Alongside, we also find that new research studies involving interfaces with neurobiological and health sciences are being carried out. Psychology in India is now being applied in diverse professional areas. Not only have psychologists been working with children having special problems, they are employed in hospitals as clinical psychologists, in corporate organizations in the HRD and advertising departments, in sports directorates, in the development sector, and in IT industry. Box 1.1. Some interesting landmarks in the evolution of modern psychology. 1879. Wilhelm Wundt establishes the first psychology laboratory in Leipzig, Germany. 1890. William James publishes Principles of Psychology. 1895. Functionalism is formulated as a system of psychology. 1900. Sigmund Freud develops psychoanalysis. 1904. Ivan Pavlov wins the Nobel Prize for his work on digestive system that led to understanding of principles of development of responses. 1905. Intelligence test developed by Binet and Simon. 1912. Gestalt psychology is born in Germany. 1916. First psychology department at Calcutta University is established. 1922. Psychology is included in Indian Science Congress Association. 1924. Indian Psychological Association is founded. 1924. John B. Watson publishes Behaviorism, a book that led to the foundation of behaviorism. 1928. N.N. Sengupta and Radha Kamal Mukherjee published the first textbook on social psychology, London, Allen and Unwin. 1949. Psychological Research Wing of the Defence Science Organisation of India (ICE) established. 1951. Humanistic psychologist Carl Rogers publishes Client-Centered Therapy. 1953. B.F. Skinner publishes Science and Human Behavior, Strengthening Behaviorism as a Major Approach to Psychology. 1954. Humanistic psychologist Abraham Maslow publishes Motivation and Personality. 1954. Bureau of Psychology is established at Allahabad. 1955. National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences, NIMHANS, is established at Bangalore. 1962. Hospital for Mental Diseases in Ranchi is established. 1973. Konrad Lorenz and Nico Tinbergen win the Nobel Prize for their work on built-in species-specific animal behavior pattern (NS) that emerge without any prior experience learning. 1978. Herbert Simon wins the Nobel Prize for work on decision-making. 1981. David Hubel and Torsten Wiesel win the Nobel Prize for their research on vision cells in the brain. 1981. Roger Sperry wins the Nobel Prize for split brain research. 1989. National Academy of Psychology, NAOP, India was founded. 1997. National Brain Research Centre, NBRC, ICE established at Gurgaon, Haryana. 2002. Daniel Kahneman wins the Nobel Prize for research on human judgment and decision-making under uncertainty. 2005. Thomas Schelling wins the Nobel Prize for his work in applying game theory to understanding of conflict and cooperation in economic behavior. Branches of psychology. Various fields of specialization in psychology have emerged over the years. Some of these are discussed in this section. Cognitive psychology investigates mental processes involved in acquisition, storage, manipulation, and transformation of information received from the environment along with its use and communication. The major cognitive processes are attention, perception, memory, reasoning, problem-solving, decision-making, and language. You will be studying these topics later in this textbook. In order to study these cognitive processes, psychologists conduct experiments in laboratory settings. Some of them also follow an ecological approach, i.e. an approach which focuses on the environmental factors to study cognitive processes in a natural setting. Cognitive psychologists often collaborate with neuroscientists and computer scientists. Biological psychology focuses on the relationship between behavior and the physical system, including the brain and the rest of the nervous system, the immune system, and genetics. Biological psychologists often collaborate with neuroscientists, zoologists, and anthropologists. Neuropsychology has emerged as a field of research where psychologists and neuroscientists are working together. Researchers are studying the role of neurotransmitters or chemical substances which are responsible for neural communication in different areas of the brain and therefore in associated mental functions. They do their research on people with normal functioning brain as well as on people with damaged brain by following advanced technologies like EEG, PET, and fMRI, etc. about which you will study later. Developmental psychology studies the physical, social, and psychological changes that occur at different ages and stages over a lifespan, from conception to old age. The primary concern of developmental psychologists is how we become what we are. For many years the major emphasis was on child and adolescent development. However, today, an increasing number of developmental psychologists show strong interest in adult development and aging. They focus on the biological, sociocultural, and environmental factors that influence psychological characteristics such as intelligence, cognition, emotion, temperament, morality, and social relationship. Developmental psychologists collaborate with anthropologists, educationists, neurologists, social workers, counselors, and almost every branch of knowledge where there is a concern for growth and development of a human being. Social psychology explores how people are affected by their social environments, how people think about and influence others. Social psychologists are interested in such topics as attitudes, conformity, and obedience to authority, interpersonal attraction, helpful behavior, prejudice, aggression, social motivation, intergroup relations, and so on. Cross-cultural and cultural psychology examines the role of culture in understanding behavior, thought, and emotion. It assumes that human behavior is not only a reflection of human biological potential, but also a product of culture. Therefore, behavior should be studied in its socio-cultural context. As you will be studying in different chapters of this book, culture influences human behavior in many ways and in varying degrees. Environmental psychology studies the interaction of physical factors such as temperature, humidity, pollution, and natural disasters on human behavior. The influence of physical arrangement of the workplace on health, the emotional state, and interpersonal relations are also investigated. Current topics of research in this field are the extent to which disposal of waste, population explosion, conservation of energy, efficient use of community resources are associated with and are functions of human behavior. Health psychology focuses on the role of psychological factors, for example, stress, anxiety, in the development, prevention, and treatment of illness. Areas of interest for a health psychologist are stress and coping, the relationship between psychological factors and health, patient-doctor relationship, and ways of promoting health-enhancing factors. Clinical and counseling psychology deals with causes, treatment, and prevention of different types of psychological disorders such as anxiety, depression, eating disorders, and chronic substance abuse. A related area is counseling, which aims to improve everyday functioning by helping people solve problems in daily living and cope more effectively with challenging situations. The work of clinical psychologists does not differ from that of counseling psychologists, although a counseling psychologist sometimes deals with people who have less serious problems. In many instances, counseling psychologists work with students, advising them about personal problems and career planning. Like clinical psychologists, psychiatrists also study the causes, treatment, and prevention of psychological disorders. How are clinical psychologists and psychiatrists different? A clinical psychologist has a degree in psychology, which includes intensive training in treating people with psychological disorders. In contrast, a psychiatrist has a medical degree with years of specialized training in the treatment of psychological disorders. One important distinction is that psychiatrists can prescribe medications and give electroshock treatments, whereas clinical psychologists cannot. Industrial organizational psychology deals with workplace behavior, focusing on both the workers and the organizations that employ them. Industrial organizational psychologists are concerned with training employees, improving work conditions, and developing criteria for selecting employees. For example, an organizational psychologist might recommend that a company may adopt a new management structure that would increase communication between managers and staff. The background of industrial and organizational psychologists often includes training in cognitive and social psychology. Educational psychology studies how people of all ages learn. Educational psychologists primarily help develop instructional methods and materials used to train people in both educational and work settings. They are also concerned with research on issues of relevance for education, counseling, and learning problems. A related field, school psychology, focuses on designing programs that promote intellectual, social, and emotional development of children, including those with special needs. They try to apply knowledge of psychology in a school setting. Sports psychology applies psychological principles to improve sports performance by enhancing their motivation. Sports psychology is a relatively new field but is gaining acceptance worldwide. Other emerging branches of psychology, the interdisciplinary focus on research and application of psychology has led to the emergence of varied areas like aviation psychology, space psychology, military psychology, forensic psychology, rural psychology, engineering psychology, managerial psychology, community psychology, psychology of women, and political psychology, to name a few. Try the activity 1.3 to reflect upon your interest areas in psychology. Themes of research and applications. In the previous section, you got some idea of the various branches of psychology. If you were to ask a simple question about what psychologists do, the usual answer will be that they do several things while working in a variety of settings. However, if you try to analyze their work, you will notice that they basically engage in two kinds of activities. One is research in psychology, the other is application of psychology. What are some of the themes which provide direction to research and application of psychology? There are several such themes. We will focus on some of them. Theme 1. Psychology, like other sciences, attempts to develop principles of behavior and mental processes. In research, the main concern is with the understanding and explanation of behavior and mental events and processes. Psychologists, who choose to engage in research, function more like other scientists. Like them, they draw conclusions which are supported by data. They design and conduct experiments or studies under controlled conditions on a wide range of psychological phenomena. The purpose is to develop general principles about behavior and mental processes. The conclusions drawn on the basis of such studies apply to everybody and are, therefore, universal. Experimental, comparative, physiological, developmental, social, differential and abnormal psychology are generally regarded as domains representing basic psychology. The themes of research in these fields differ from each other. For example, experimental psychologists study the processes of perception, learning, memory, thinking, and motivation, etc., using experiment as their method of inquiry, whereas physiological psychologists attempt to examine physiological basis of these behaviors. Developmental psychologists study qualitative and quantitative changes in behavior from the beginning of human life to its end, whereas social psychologists focus on the study of experience and behavior of individuals as they take place in social contexts. Theme 2. Human behavior is a function of the attributes of persons and environment. Kurt Lewin first proposed the famous equation B is equal to F, P, E, which suggests that behavior is the product of a person and his environment. What this equation simply tells us is that the variations we find in human behavior are largely due to the fact that persons differ with respect to their various attributes because of their genetic endowments and diverse experiences, and so do the environments they are placed in. Here the environment is conceptualized as it is perceived or made sense of by the person. Psychologists have for a long time considered that no two individuals are the same if one considers their psychological attributes. They vary with respect to their intelligence, interests, values, aptitudes, and various other personality characteristics. In fact, psychological tests came to be constructed to measure such differences. A discipline called differential psychology, which focused on individual differences, emerged and flourished in the late 19th and early 20th century. Most of it still remains in the form of personality psychology. Psychologists believe that although core psychological processes are universal, they are susceptible to individual dispositions. Besides individual differences, psychologists also believe that there are variations in behavior which occur due to environmental factors. This is a view which psychologists have taken from anthropologists, evolutionary theorists, and biologists. Psychologists look for explanations of various psychological phenomena based on individual environment interactions. Although it is difficult, psychologists do seek out the relative importance of heredity and environment in explaining human behavior. Theme 3. Human behavior is caused. Most psychologists believe that all human behavior can be explained in terms of causes which are internal to the organism or external, having location in the outside environment. Causal explanations are central to all sciences because without understanding them no prediction will be possible. Although psychologists look for causal explanations of behavior, they also realize that simple linear explanations such as X causing Y do not hold true. There is no one cause of behavior. Human behavior has multiple causes. Psychologists, therefore, look for causal models where a set of interdependent variables are used to explain behavior. When it is said that behavior has multiple causes, it means that it is difficult to pinpoint one cause of behavior because it may itself be caused by another variable, which in turn may be caused by some other. Theme 4. Understanding of human behavior is culturally constructed. This is a theme which has recently surfaced. There are psychologists who believe that most psychological theories and models are Euro-American in nature and therefore do not help us in understanding behaviors in other cultural settings. Psychologists from Asia, Africa, and Latin America have been critical of Euro-American approaches which are propagated as universal. A similar critique is made by feminists who argue that psychology offers a male perspective and ignores the perspective of women. They argue in favor of a dialectical approach which will accommodate both male and female perspectives in understanding human behavior. Theme 5. Human behavior can be controlled and modified through the application of psychological principles. Why do scientists like to know how certain events can be controlled, be they physical or psychological? Their concern arises from their desire to develop techniques or methods that will improve the quality of human life. Psychologists also seek the same while applying knowledge generated by them. This often requires removal of certain difficulties or adverse conditions that individuals experience in different phases of their life. Consequently, psychologists make certain interventions into the lives of needy people. This applied role of psychologists has, on the one hand, brought the subject closer to the life of people in general than other social science subjects, and in knowing the limits of the applicability of its principles. On the other hand, this role has also been very helpful in popularizing psychology as a subject in itself. Thus, several independent branches of psychology have emerged that try to use psychological theories, principles, and facts to diagnose and resolve problems related to industrial and organizational settings, clinical services, education, environment, health, community development, and so on. Industrial psychology, organizational psychology, clinical psychology, educational psychology, engineering psychology, and sports psychology represent some of the areas in which psychologists are engaged in delivering services to individuals, groups or institutions. Basic versus applied psychology. It may be noted at this point that various areas put under the rubrics of basic and applied psychology are identified only on the basis of their emphasis on the study of certain subject matters and broader concerns. There is no sharp cleavage between research and application of psychology. For example, basic psychology provides us with theories and principles that form the basis of application of psychology, and applied psychology provides us with different contexts in which the theories and principles derived from research can be meaningfully applied. On the other hand, research is an integral part of even those fields of psychology that are mainly characterized by or subsumed under the category of application. Due to ever-increasing demands of psychology in different settings, many fields that were regarded as primarily research-oriented in previous decades have also gradually turned into application-oriented. Newly emerging disciplines like applied experimental psychology, applied social psychology, and applied developmental psychology indicate that in fact all psychology has the potential of application and is basically applied in nature. Thus, there is seemingly no fundamental difference between research and application of psychology. These activities are highly interrelated and mutually reinforcing. Their mutual interactions and pervasive influences on each other have become so specific that several offshoots have emerged in recent years with very specific emphasis on their subject matters. Thus, ecological psychology, environmental psychology, cross-cultural psychology, biological psychology, space psychology, and cognitive psychology, to mention a few, have come up as new and frontier areas of research and application that previously formed part of other fields of psychology. These newer developments require highly specialized research skills and training on the part of researchers than ever before. Psychology and other disciplines. Any discipline which deals with people would definitely recognize the relevance of the knowledge of psychology. Similarly, psychologists also acknowledge the relevance of other disciplines in understanding human behavior. This trend has led to the emergence of interdisciplinary approach in the field of psychology. Researchers and scholars in science, social science, and humanities have felt the significance of psychology as a discipline. Figure 1.1 clearly shows the relationship of psychology with other disciplines. In studying brain and behavior, psychology shares its knowledge with neurology, physiology, biology, medicine, and computer science. In studying human behavior, its meaning, growth, and development, in a socio-cultural context, psychology shares its knowledge with anthropology, sociology, social work, political science, and economics. In studying mental activities involved in creation of literary texts, music, and drama, psychology shares its knowledge with literature, art, and music. Some of the major disciplines linked to the field of psychology are discussed below. Philosophy. Until the end of the 19th century, certain concerns that are now part of contemporary psychology like what is the nature of the mind or how do humans come to know their motivations and emotions were the concerns of philosophers. In the later part of the 19th century, Wundt and other psychologists adopted an experimental approach to these questions and contemporary psychology emerged. Despite the emergence of psychology as a science, it greatly draws from philosophy, particularly with respect to methods of knowing and various domains of human nature. Medicine doctors have realized that the maxim, healthy body requires a healthy mind is actually true. A large number of hospitals now employ psychologists. The role of psychologists in preventing people from engaging in health hazardous behaviors and in adhering to the prescribed doctor's regimen are some of the important areas where the two disciplines have come together. While treating patients suffering from cancer, AIDS, and the physically challenged, or handling patients in the intensive care unit, and patients during post-operative care, doctors have also felt the need for psychological counseling. A successful doctor looks at the psychological as well as physical well-being of the patients. Economics, political science and sociology. As sister social science disciplines, these three have drawn considerably from psychology and have enriched it as well. Psychology has contributed a great deal to the study of micro-level economic behavior, particularly in understanding consumer behavior, savings behavior, and in decision-making. American economists have used data on consumer sentiments to predict economic growth. 3 scholars who have worked on such problems have received the Nobel Prize in Economics, namely H. Simon, D. Kahneman, and T. Schelling. Like economics, political science too draws considerably from psychology, particularly in understanding issues related to exercise of power and authority, nature of political conflicts and their resolutions, and voting behavior. Sociology and psychology come together to explain and understand the behavior of individuals within different socio-cultural contexts. Issues related to socialization, group and collective behavior, and intergroup conflicts gain from both these disciplines. Computer science. From the very beginning, the effort of computer science has been in mimicking the human mind. One can see it in terms of how a computer is structured, its memory organized, sequential and simultaneous, read parallel, processing of information. Computer scientists and engineers are seeking to make computers not only more and more intelligent, but also machines which can sense and feel. Developments in both these disciplines have brought about significant advancement in the field of cognitive sciences. Law and criminology. A skilled lawyer and a criminologist requires knowledge of psychology in answering such questions as how well a witness remembers an accident, a street fight, or a murder. How well can she or he report such facts when taking the witness stand in the court? What factors influence the decision which is taken by the jury? What are the dependable signs of guilt and falsehood? What factors are held important in holding a culprit responsible for his action? What degree of punishment is considered just for a criminal act? Psychologists seek to answer these questions. Currently, a number of psychologists are involved in research on such issues, the answers to which would help the legal system of the country in the future. Mass communication, the print, and the electronic media have entered in our lives in a very big way. They have a major influence on our thinking, attitudes, and our emotions. If they have brought us closer together, they have also reduced cultural diversities. The impact of media on the formation of attitudes of children and their behavior is a domain where both these disciplines come together. Psychology also helps in developing strategies for better and effective communication. A journalist in reporting news must know the reader's interests in the story. Since most stories deal with human events, knowledge of their motives and emotions is very important. A story will have more impact if it is based on a background of psychological knowledge and insight. Music and fine arts, music and psychology have converged in many areas. Scientists have made use of music in raising work performance. Music and emotions is another area in which a number of studies have been carried out. Musicians in India have recently started experimenting with what they call music therapy. In this they use different ragas for curing certain physical ailments. The efficacy of music therapy still remains to be proven. Architecture and engineering. At first glance, the relationship between psychology and architecture and engineering would appear improbable. But such is actually not the case. Ask any architect. She or he must satisfy his clients by providing mental and physical space through her design and satisfy aesthetically. Engineers must also take into account human habits in their plans for safety, for example, on streets and highways. Psychological knowledge helps in a big way in designing of all mechanical devices and displays. To sum up, psychology is located at the intersection of many fields of knowledge pertaining to human functioning. Psychologists at work. Psychologists today work in a variety of settings where they can apply psychological principles for teaching and training people to cope effectively with the problems of their lives. Often referred to as human service areas, they include clinical, counseling, community, school and organizational psychology. Clinical psychologists specialize in helping clients with behavioral problems by providing therapy for various mental disorders and in cases of anxiety or fear, or with stresses at home or at work. They work either as private practitioners or at hospitals, mental institutions, or with social agencies. They may be involved in conducting interviews and administering psychological tests to diagnose the client's problems and use psychological methods for their treatment and rehabilitation. Job opportunities in clinical psychology attract quite a few to this field of psychology. Counseling psychologists work with persons who suffer from motivational and emotional problems. The problems of their clients are less serious than those of the clinical psychologists. A counseling psychologist may be involved in vocational rehabilitation programs, or helping persons in making professional choices or in adjusting to new and difficult situations of life. Counseling psychologists work for public agencies such as mental health centers, hospitals, schools, colleges, and universities. Community psychologists generally focus on problems related to community mental health. They work for mental health agencies, private organizations, and state governments. They help the community and its institutions in addressing physical and mental health problems. In rural areas, they may work to establish a mental health center. In urban areas, they may design a drug rehabilitation program. Many community psychologists also work with special populations such as the elderly or the physically or mentally challenged. Besides the redirection and evaluation of various programs and plans, community-based rehabilitation, CBR, is of major interest to community psychologists. School psychologists work in educational systems, and their roles vary according to the levels of their training. For example, some school psychologists only administer tests, whereas others also interpret test results to help students with their problems. They also help in the formulation of school policies. They facilitate communication between parents, teachers, and administrators, and also provide teachers and parents with information about the academic progress of a student. Organizational psychologists render valuable help in dealing with problems that the executives and employees of an organization tend to face in their respective roles. They provide organizations with consultancy services and organize skill training programs in order to enhance their efficiency and effectiveness. Some organizational psychologists specialize in human resource development, HRD, while others in organizational development and change management programs. Psychology in everyday life. The discussion above may have clarified that psychology is not only a subject that satisfies some of the curiosities of our mind about human nature, but it is also a subject that can offer solutions to a variety of problems. These may range from purely personal, for example, a daughter having to face an alcoholic father or a mother dealing with a problem child, to those that may be rooted within the family setup, for example, lack of communication and interaction among family members, or in a larger group or community setting, for example, terrorist groups or socially isolated communities, or may have national or international dimensions. Problems related to education, health, environment, social justice, women development, intergroup relations, etc. are pervasive. While the solution of these problems may involve political, economic and social reforms, interventions at the individual levels are also needed in order to change. Many of these problems are largely of psychological nature, and they result from our unhealthy thinking, negative attitude towards people and self, and undesirable patterns of behavior. A psychological analysis of these problems helps both in having a deeper understanding of these problems and also in finding their effective solutions. The potential of psychology in solving the problems of life is being realized more and more. Media has played a vital role in this respect. You may have seen on television counselors and therapists suggesting solutions to a variety of problems related to children, adolescents, adults, and the elderly people. You may also find them analyzing vital social problems relating to social change and development, population, poverty, interpersonal or intergroup violence, and environmental degradation. Many psychologists now play an active role in designing and executing intervention programs in order to provide people with a better quality of life. Hence, it is no surprise that we find psychologists working in diverse settings such as schools, hospitals, industries, prisons, business organizations, military establishments, and in private practice as consultants helping people solve problems in their respective settings. Besides helping you in rendering social service to others, the knowledge of psychology is also personally relevant to you in your day-to-day life. The principles and methods of psychology that you will learn in this course should be made use of in analyzing and understanding yourself in relation to others. It is not that we do not think about ourselves. But very often, some of us think very highly of ourselves, and any feedback that contradicts our opinion about ourselves is rejected because we engage in what is called a defensive behavior. In some other cases, persons come to acquire a habit of running down themselves. Both conditions do not permit us to grow. We need to have a positive and balanced understanding of ourselves. You may use psychological principles in a positive manner to develop good habits of study for improving your learning and memory, and for solving your personal and interpersonal problems by using appropriate decision-making strategies. You will also find it of use to reduce or alleviate the stress of examination. Thus, the knowledge of psychology is quite useful in our everyday life and is rewarding from personal as well as social points of view. Key terms: behavior, behaviorism, cognition, cognitive approach, consciousness, constructivism, developmental psychology, functionalism, Gestalt, Gestalt psychology, humanistic approach, introspection, mind, neuropsychology, physiological psychology, psychoanalysis, sociology, stimulus, structuralism. Summary: psychology is a modern discipline aimed at understanding the complexities of mental processes, experiences, and behavior of individuals in different contexts. It is treated as a natural as well as a social science. The major schools of psychological thought are structuralism, functionalism, behaviorism, Gestalt School, psychoanalysis, humanistic psychology, and cognitive psychology. Contemporary psychology is multivocal, as it is characterized by many approaches or diverse views, which explain behavior at different levels. These approaches are not mutually exclusive. Each provides valuable insights into the complexities of human functioning. The cognitive approach uses thought processes as central to psychological functions. The humanistic approach views human functioning as characterized by a desire to grow, be productive, and fulfill human potential. Today, psychologists work in many specialized fields, which have their own theories and methods. They make efforts to develop theories and solve problems in specific domains. Some of the major fields of psychology are cognitive psychology, biological psychology, health psychology, developmental psychology, social psychology, educational and school psychology, clinical and counseling psychology, environmental psychology, industrial organizational psychology, sports psychology. More recently, a need is felt to have multi-interdisciplinary initiatives to arrive at a better understanding of reality. This has led to a collaboration across disciplines. Interests of psychology overlap with social sciences, e.g., economics, political science, sociology, biosciences, e.g., neurology, physiology, medicine, mass communication, and music and fine arts. Such efforts have led to fruitful research and application. Psychology is a discipline not merely contributing to the development of theoretical knowledge about human behavior, but contributing to the solution of problems at different levels. Psychologists are employed to help in diverse activities in a variety of settings including schools, hospitals, industries, training institutes, military and government establishments. Many of them are doing private practice and are consultants.